I want to tell you about the best characters you already have access to early on in Marvel's Midnight Suns. Like, I was, for example, really surprised by how good Ghost Rider can be. Every hero excels in something, but there are totally some that are better than the rest. Now, your party is also really important, like you want to have some good combinations, and of course make sure that you got the best cards in each character's deck. So I want to go over that, but mostly focus on my favorite heroes that I think are the best. But totally let me know yours in the comments down below. I want to thank 2K for sponsoring the video. Totally check out Midnight Suns via the link in the video description. A like would also really help me out, and let's go. I want to start with Blade, who's an amazing character in almost every situation thanks to his insane damage output and the ability to easily stay alive. So while you can chain to multiple enemies with the strike card that is already in your deck from the start, I build him to be more of a single target damage dealer, which amazing against bosses. Like, out of a rare Gamma Coil, you can get the Relentless card that already has quite a lot of damage, but you can enhance that even more if the target was already damaged that turn. And you can easily control this by, for example, using the environment or your movement push or any other card. Now, with the plus version, I deal plus 51 damage on top of the 34, which is an insane spike, and it doesn't cost any heroism. So while Blade has a passive 10% chance to apply bleed on an attack, not really good. You can increase it though by increasing the friendship level. Luckily though, he also has the Make Him Bleed card. This will add bleed to the next attacks Blade does. So if you then do strike, you will be able to chain to multiple enemies and apply this damage over time effect. This is already really strong, but with Quick Strike Plus, you get extra damage if a target already has bleed. And later on, you unlock Reaper. This lets you consume all the bleed on a target immediately for some insane damage. Like, this is my deck with him right now, only 2 cards that cost heroism, and thanks to the lifesteal on the amazing stay cards, I can easily stay in the fight with Blade as well. So that's why he's a great pick all around, because he can take care of himself. It's still of course smart to have a support character in your team, because then Blade can more easily deal even more damage. And it's especially the case with Doctor Strange. Like, he's able to enhance the damage on every card in your hand with the Blessing of Vishanti. But even better in my opinion is the Agamotto's Gaze, because with this you draw the last 2 attack cards you played, and also more importantly get 4 card plays next turn instead of 3. So this is quite insane, and because you can have 2 of the same cards in your deck, you can have multiple rounds with 4 card plays with Doctor Strange if you are lucky. And these skill cards build up a lot of heroism, which of course great, so you can use more powerful attacks from other heroes, or of course use the environment more often. But more heroism also means that Doctor Strange's attacks are increased thanks to the unique enchanted perk. Like, he has one of the best cards in the game for single hit damage if you also have some heroism on the side. Now I have a mod on it as well that gives it even more damage if the target is full health. So you can like probably one-hit kill most enemies with this card. So yeah, Doctor Strange is really an amazing all-around character to have in your team. Now, another support that I don't think is quite as good as Doctor Strange, but I still think you should not sleep on, is Nico. There's only a bit more luck involved here, as the cards can have different effects that are randomly selected when you draw them. So sure, she's quite unpredictable, but when things are going the right way, which is pretty often, you can for example have the curse card with a stun. And it's amazing for the enemies that are protecting other targets, because if you stun them, you do not have to remove their block first, but can immediately play the capture agent card afterwards, for example, or deal damage to the person they were protecting. Nico also has the Swarm, which lets you deal a ton of single target damage. Now, the amount is randomly selected, but it only costs 1 heroism. So even with the lowest damage, it's still really powerful. But again, you can also go up really high, so then you will deal a ton of damage. Later on, you will unlock Restore, which will restore the full health of any target in your team, but this can only be played once per fight. So yeah, I totally think it's worth it to take some time to improve her. overall, just don't underestimate Nico. Captain Marvel can also be a great asset to everyone's team. She can namely deal a ton of damage, taunt enemies in the process, so they will focus their attacks on her. And if you play 3 Captain Marvel cards, you'll be able to enter her binary state. This is a free card play where she gets a large amount of block and all her damage will then be doubled. So while you can get this card at the end of your turn, it's smart to use it at the start of one, because then you can really benefit from the double damage, because you still have a lot of card plays left over. She will namely lose the binary state when she loses all her block, and this can easily happen in the next enemy turn, as again, Captain Marvel will taunt a lot of enemies. So yeah, use it at the start of your turn to get the most out of it. Now, there are totally some cards that can give you extra blocks with Captain Marvel as well, to become more like a tank, although still having a healer or someone like Captain America who can get the enemies off you is really handy. And really the best healer in the game is actually your own character, the Hunter, if you go down the light path. Like for one, it's really smart to invest in your Hunter, as they will be present during every story mission, but the light and dark part is important here as well. Now, we shared tips on how to gain these points in a previous video, which I will link to in the video description. Like, the choice is yours, but I went down the dark path and I kinda regret it now, as this mostly focused on an offensive approach, but then you will also discard random cards, deal damage to yourself for the benefit of others. But since there are a ton of good damage dealers in the game and not a lot pure healers, I think having a light Hunter is smarter, especially during the first part of the game. Again, check the previous video for tips on this system. Now I want to look at the most surprising hero of them all, Ghost Rider. He can be an amazing third character next to your support and your main damage dealer. Especially his Hell Ride can make fights go way faster if you use it right. Like, this is an insane attack that happens in front of you, so maybe move into position if necessary, and they can deal a ton of damage, which you can upgrade even more by upgrading the card. But the downside is that next to the 3 heroism cost, you will discard your whole hand after using this ability. So smart is to use this as your final card play, so they will not have a lot of cards left anyways. And again, you can have 2 of the same card in your deck, so you can play this pretty often. But Ghost Rider has 2 extra things that make him one of the best in my opinion. And one of those things is regarding the Hell Mouth, that lets you create a drop in almost any location, and they can use that to instantly KO enemies by pushing them in with your movement ability, which you unlock a little later into the game, or of course with any knockback cards. So it starts with a 39% chance, which is enough to push a lot of high health targets in a hole for an insta-kill, really insane. Of course, you gotta be lucky here, but if an enemy is not full health anymore, then the chance that they will instantly die when pushed in the hole is increased. So again, luck is involved, but if you play it smart, it can be really amazing. And KOing enemies in any way with the Ghost Rider lets you build up souls, you see in the bottom left corner of the screen, and this increases the number of enemies he can chain with the Drained Soul card. So this lets you deal damage and also steal their life, making Ghost Rider a great self-healer as well. So I think you should totally try him out. I'm at least having a blast with him. Like, I wanted to highlight some of my favorite characters, but you can't really go wrong with most of them. Iron Man is an amazing AoE damage dealer that gets extra bonuses on cards if you redraw them. Always nice to have him on your team to easily knock back enemies. There are not a lot of like high cost cards. And Spider-Man can sure be great as well for those AoE chain attacks to multiple enemies. I personally go for a single target damage dealer, a support, so your Hunter during story missions, and then someone with nice AoE capabilities. Overall, also good to just have a few cards that require heroism, so mostly cards that build up the heroism because they can use the environment more often and also immediately play the really powerful heroism cards that you get. Also great to use the Book of Vishanti research upgrade, which is available on level 4 to upgrade your regular cards, because here you can make blueprints, which are then used to craft the cards that you want, so you can very easily create duplicates, which you can then use to upgrade them. You can also check the research program for putting those mods on the cards, which also makes them way better. Again, way more tips like this in our previous video that you can check out by clicking on the screen. Subscribe for more Marvel's Midnight Suns videos. A like would really help us out. And check out the game, of course, via the link in the video description. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.